my channel. It's Life with Crystal, and I'm about to do a story time, so let's get started. Okay, so my story time today is gonna be about how my fiance and I met. So we did meet in high school. We met my junior year. We were high school sweethearts. Okay, so my junior year, I was in a brand new school. I was put into a classroom where I shouldn't have been placed in. So they ended up moving me. I think after a couple of months, they moved me into the classroom where I was actually supposed to be in, because I did pass my I guess English class. Anyway, I meant my English exam. In that English class, the minute I walked in, I did see my fiance across the classroom, and we both did look at each other for a good 5 to 6 seconds. Now, a lot of people don't believe in love at first sight, but in this case, it is the way it happened. We just saw each other and we were like, oh, you know, like, Okay, so we never really spoke in class. It did take a while for us to talk to each other, mainly because we were both really shy. I was the type of person that I didn't like talking to people. It was my first year there, so I wasn't like comfortable yet with anyone. How it happened was we would look at each other. I would look at him and he would look at me in class, and it was like an every other day thing. I say every other day because we did have like A and B day, and I had them for all my A days. B days I didn't have them for any classes. So I did see him those days, and every time that we did see each other, like, you know, we would just kind of like flirt with our eyes, I guess. We never did talk to each other in class. How it happened was, I don't know how exactly we had each other on Instagram, but we did. He liked some of my pictures on there. I was like, you know, so I clicked on his profile. I checked his Instagram and I was like, oh, that's him, you know. So I went in and I liked some of his things. Then he messaged me after, I guess, a couple more likes. I'm gonna put up our conversation right here. He messaged me with like a little meme, I guess, that said, can you not? And I put, can you not? And he put, okay, I won't. And then I put, never mind, can you? And then he put, okay, I will. And I put, thanks. And then he put SMA. Okay, and if you don't know what SMA means, look it up in the Urban Dictionary. It's there. And we were never really serious about what we were saying. We would just mess around a lot. He was very goofy. His personality is honestly like the best. Like, he is probably one of like the best kind of people to be around with. So it was like that between him and I. We would FaceTime a lot. We would talk to each other on the phone a lot. But when it came to us being in the classroom together, we never did speak. And it sounds weird, but that's exactly how it happened. When we were in class, like, I would message him like, oh my gosh, like, stop looking at me. Or he would like message me like, what are you doing? And literally, like, we were like right across. So I guess after like maybe a month or two of us just talking to each other like that, I ended up moving back to McAllen. And at the time I had moved to FAR, so I just went to McAllen, and I was in a whole different school district. At the time, neither one of us would drive, and our parents were both strict. Our parents were both strict, so we couldn't really see each other. We continued to talk to each other for maybe like an extra 5 days. We would, I guess, like flirt with each other, and I did end up seeing him one time. I think his excuse to his parents was that he was gonna go to his friend's house, which was like right across the street, and he was gonna like take the truck or whatever. And my excuse to my mom while she was working was, hey, I'm gonna go with my cousin to go to McDonald's and sit there for a while. And my mom was like, okay, like, just be safe or whatever. And I convinced my cousin to go with me to FAR. Literally, okay, like, if you live in the valley and you know where Las Milpas is, you know how fucking deep that shit is, like, into FAR. And if you know anything about McAllen, you know that I lived literally north side of McAllen, so I was like deep into McAllen, where it was like a huge drive, and I was like just starting to drive, I guess. Well, not that I was just starting to drive, but I just didn't have my license, and I couldn't really take the car without permission. And I had lied to my mom, and usually anytime that I would lie, it would like backfire on me, so whatever. We met up at a park in FAR. Now, I went all the way to Far to meet up with him, and literally all we did was just we talked. We did walk around the park. A couple days later, him and I decided to stop talking because it kind of was going to be a little hard to see each other. And even then, when we were in school, we wouldn't even talk to each other like face to face. We were, I guess, weird like that. I don't know. So time passed and we didn't talk to each other for the rest of my junior year. My senior year came in and we didn't talk, and then I moved back from McAllen. Like after I moved to Far, I went back to McAllen. From McAllen, I went back to Far, and I ended up staying there. So when I moved back to Far, on that day that I moved back, I actually was skipping class. I did not want to go to any of my classes. I was kind of like frustrated, I guess. So I just ended up staying with the teacher that I was familiar with. I really liked that teacher, and it so happens to be that she was like, oh, you know what, Crystal, like I need you to go drop this off for this teacher and go pick up a box from there. And I was like, okay, that's fine, whatever. So I go to pick up a box from there and drop something off, and literally the minute I walk into that classroom, Bernie was literally sitting down in the front, and we just like stared at each other, and I got like kind of nervous. I like panicked a little, and I remember he just looked at me and he was like I guess like in shock that like we were looking at each other. I didn't tell him that I was moving back in to that school or whatever. It was just kind of weird. So I go pick up the box. I go back to the classroom with that teacher that had asked me for the favor. Then she sends me back. So I was like, fuck, like I don't want to go back. Like, you know, it was like weird for me. I go back to that classroom. I asked for something else. There he was again. Like, you know, we were just like looking at each other. It was kind of weird. I guess like I turned away, and so did he. I go back to the classroom, and from there, I guess he was just like looking at my Snapchat still. Like, I mean, it was nothing weird. Well, it was weird, I guess, for a little bit, but whatever. We didn't talk for a little bit. Then I found out that I actually had him for an English class, which is weird because I had him for I had him for English my junior year and for my senior year as well. So both him and I would actually, like after that class, both him and I would go home. I actually didn't have any classes after 11:45, and he had welding after 11:45. So he would leave class and so would I. We never really did talk. I believe one time, like we left that class, we kind of like were just like talking a little bit to each other, but like not really. Like he just said hi, and I was like, oh hey, like whatever, right? And he said that he was gonna go to welding, and I was like, oh well, I'm gonna go home already. And like that was kind of it that day. Forgot to mention that I'm gonna tell you guys a little story about what my fiance did when we were in high school. A couple weeks later, we go to the auditorium, but only because freshmen, sophomores, and juniors were testing at the time. Seniors weren't testing, so they had us in the auditorium for all day, I believe. Okay. That day that we were there at the auditorium, I had a friend of mine drop off some coffee for me. My cup of coffee didn't have any sugar or cream, so I called my brother-in-law and I told him, hey, do you mind bringing me sugar and creamer? And he was like, yeah, that's fine. So he was like, I'll be there in like 5 minutes. So I left the auditorium and I went to go pick up the sugar and the creamer from the front office. Well, he was like outside in his truck waiting for me to like go out and pick it up. Literally when I was walking out, Bernie was like right there in the front office, and I looked at him and I was like, oh hey, like do you mind holding my cup of coffee while I go get something from my brother-in-law? And he was like, yeah, that's fine. So he got my cup of coffee and he just like placed it there like where he was at. I came back and I was like, oh thank you. I got my cup of coffee and I went to the restroom to go get some napkins because it was like kind of spilled. After that, I got out, I went to go put the sugar and the creamer in, and I took a sip out of it. Kind of like thought it was like, it tasted kind of weird, but I didn't think anything of it until I kind of realized it did taste like Germix to me. And I was like, at this moment, I was like super freaking annoyed. I was like, what the hell? My stomach was hurting. I felt like throwing up. Like I was like, dude, this guy did not just freaking put freaking Germix in my coffee. I was like, what the hell is his problem? So I ended up messaging him through Snapchat and I told him off. I literally told him like, dude, if I freaking see you, like, you're not gonna see the end of this. Why did I think I was all big and bad telling him off? Like, I don't know. Like, who the hell did I think I was?
acting like I got so much power and shit.
And he was like, oh, I'm sorry, and he like kind of like laughed about it. So I was like, whatever, dude, like. So then he did put Germ-X in my coffee. I was very annoyed with him, and I believe like a week later I was going through some stuff, so I went over to a friend's house. I was drinking at her house, and I get this message from Bernie, and he was all like, oh, like you don't even know this song. And I was like, dude, like I just started telling him off. I was like, you literally don't know anything. I was like, what's your problem? And I still can't believe it that you put Germ-X in my coffee. Like, I don't even know why I'm still talking to you. He literally messaged me and he was like, hey, calm down. And I was like, what? And he was all like, message me in the morning when you're feeling better. I know that right now you're not okay. He was all like, I'll talk to you in the morning. I was like, okay. I don't know why I was just like, oh, okay. In the morning I messaged him and he was all, what did he tell me? He was all like, hey, I want to see you. And I was like, okay, well, you know what, pick me up today. And he was like, okay. And all right, so then he had just said like, okay, I'll pick you up or whatever, just send me your address. I sent him my address, he picked me up, and we went out for breakfast, and then he took me to work from there. But we actually did have like a really good time, and ever since then we've been dating. He did take me to prom. I'll post like 2 to 3 pictures here. And we are now engaged. I will update you guys on any future events. I'll update you with whenever we get married, whatever party we throw. I just want to say that I completely adore my fiance. I can't believe that's how we started dating and that's how we met. Now that I think about it, like, damn, like, we're getting married. I'm getting married to the guy who put Germ-X in my coffee. Like, that's weird. Anyways, but yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys have any suggestions for the next video, feel free to comment down below, like and subscribe. Really appreciate everyone who's actually been watching my videos. It means a lot, honestly. I've literally been wanting to do this for a good 2 to 3 years. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in my next video.